Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the third installment in my complete analysis of all 389 Bach chorales. My name is Forrest, and the chorale we're going to be looking at today is Ach Gott von Himmel, sieh, darein, which means something along the lines of, "Oh God, look down at me from heaven," something along those lines. We got an interesting key signature today. It suggests a G major or E minor, but we're actually going to be starting in A minor, which is interesting because I don't know why they would even include a key signature. The best guess that I could, hedge my bets on is the fact that we modulate to E minor in the B section, but we quickly go back to A minor after a couple of bars. I did look ahead a little bit at this because I couldn't get down to why they had the F sharp in the key signature. This is a kind of an interestingly formatted one because we see, F sharps, written in, even though there's no reason why they should have been written in because they're implied by the key signature. I don't know. Also, weird formatting things where it's like the voices cross. Oh, you know what? The reason why they're doing that is because the tenor is jumping up. That makes sense now. But there's nothing that reverses it, like, when it goes back down. There's some weird editorial stuff. I don't know how it could have gotten through the cracks. But that being said, let's go ahead and start our analysis with an E major triad, and in A minor terms, that's a 5 chord. We then have an A minor triad, A, E, A, C, so 1 chord. And then we have B, D, G sharp, B, that is a G sharp diminished triad in first inversion. Then we have C, E, and then A is doubled in the upper voices. That's an A minor triad in first inversion. Then we have a B, D, G sharp, E, that's a 5 chord in first inversion. And then we have some passing tones going on here, but also this kind of looks like a 1 chord, A, C, A, E. Yeah, that's a 1 chord, so we'll mark that as well. And then we have G sharp, B, D, E. No, G sharp, B, B, E, sorry. He's doubling the 5th here, that's interesting. It's weird, it's like my brain skips over it, so I just assumed that was D, and I switch my clefs up all the time, so pardon me if I say something that doesn't match my analysis. It's just because I have like a cute like a cute mix up when it comes to this. That could be the 7th of the chord as well, but that could also be interpreted as the 7th of the chord. We then have an A minor triad, which is just a 1 chord right here. We have some passing tones going on here, some melodic minor action, even though this F sharp has not been nullified by anything, so it's just redundant. And then we end on an E major triad. That's a half cadence. Okay, next we have B, F sharp, G sharp, D. That is a 7 chord with a 7th in second inversion. So that's a 7-4-3 chord. And then in the next bar, we would expect that to go to 1 or 3. And in this case, it does go to 1 in first inversion because the C is in the bass, the 3rd of the chord. Then we have 1 going to E, E, G sharp, B. It's a 5 chord. Bach spelled it that way a couple of times now. Passing tone, F, C. We are doubling the 3rd, interestingly enough. And I think that has to do mostly with voice leading. 1, 5, and then we go to 6 here with the F natural. G is a passing tone. Then we have E, D, F, B. E, D, F, B. I think this E is like an accented passing tone here, or some type of accented non-chord tone, like an appoggiatura or something. We have, if we look at D, D, F, and B, and with this sort of ornamentation going on right here, that is a 2 chord in first inversion. Very interesting. And then we have E, G sharp, E, C. I think this is another sort of accented, or C, E, G sharp. That would be like a 3 augmented triad, but I really do think this is just a non-chord tone, and we're looking at the B right here. That's sort of like just a syncopation. There's counterpoint going on right now, but really what's being implied here is a 5 chord because we have the E and the G sharp and the B. I think that's mostly what's going on here. And then we end on A, C, E, A. That's just a 1 chord. And we don't need to reanalyze the A section because it's just a repeat. However, what happens next is the piece ends up going to E minor, and the reason why we know it goes to E minor is because we see D sharps, many of them in close proximity to one another. So that E, or that A rather, is also 4 in E minor. Then we start with F, A, D, A, or F sharp A, D, A. That is a, with the D in there, that would be a 7 chord, which is where 4 wants to go to in the key of E minor. So that's interesting, and more specifically it's a 7-6 chord because it's the third of the chord is in the bass. And where does 7 want to go? 7 wants to go to 1, or 7 wants to go to 3. Another way to analyze this 7 chord would be 5 of 3. However, I think because 7 wants to go to 3 by the rule of falling fifths, I think that that's fair to say that this is a 7-6 that goes to 3. We then have some passing tones going on. It would also be, you could also kind of say that this is F sharp A, D sharp A. We can kind of say that that's a 7-6 chord as well, even though it's mostly just passing note motion. And we would expect a 7-6 chord to go to 1, which is what it does, E, B, E, G. Then we have B, D sharp, F sharp. That's just a 5 chord with a passing tone right here. Really kind of a beautiful suspension where the unison splits into a second. Bach does that a lot, and I really like that. G, B, E. That's just another 1 chord, but this time it's in first inversion. And then we have, kind of on a very fleeting moment, these are all passing tones for the most part. Yeah, I think actually we have a passing tone in all of the voices. But if we analyze the chord, we see that it's actually F sharp, A, D sharp, F sharp. That is another 7-6 chord, and, well, we could expect a 7-6 chord to go to 1. And the reason why these diminished sevenths don't go to 3 is because they contain the leading tone. This 7 does not have a leading tone, so I think it would lend itself more to go to 3 by rule of falling fifths. Then we have another. This is just a chord tone right here, so we don't need to reanalyze it, but this is a passing tone. And then we have C, C, F sharp, A. That is an F sharp diminished triad in first inversion with a passing tone right here, so that would be a 2-6 chord. And then we have B, F sharp, D sharp, B. That's a 5 chord. That is a half cadence. Oh, and I forgot to mark the cadence here. This is an authentic cadence, more specifically a perfect authentic cadence, as the A is our tonic, and it's in the higher uppermost voice. Then we have E, B, E, G. We have a 1 chord, a passing tone, and this is where it starts to get the most interesting because we have an F major triad, and I think this is where the modulation happens pretty abruptly, because we hear the F natural, and that puts the idea of A minor back in our minds. So I think this is where we're modulating to A minor, but what would we call this chord? We would call this F, A, C, A. That's where we can get kind of interesting. I think these are both accented non-chord tones, and instead we're looking at F, A, D, B. And D, B, or B, D, F, A is 7, 4, 3, and it's a half diminished, of 4. And we would just call that 7, 4, 3 in A minor. And then it would go to 1, C, E, A, C, which is just a 1 chord in first inversion. Very good. Passing tone right here. And then we have E, E, G sharp, B. It's a 5 chord, an E major triad. And then we have A, E, A, C. That's a 1 chord. Sorry, my overhead camera makes it hard sometimes to look at this. From top down through my microphone and whatnot. You should see my apparatus I have set up to analyze all this stuff. So we have downward passing tones, stuff going down here, E, D, C, not to be confused by this bent stem. Then we have C, C, E, A. Well, we're coming off of a 1 chord, so we don't need to reanalyze that. We'll just say that the figure bass changes with a 6 there. Passing tone in the bass, E, B, E, G sharp. It's another 5 chord. And we have A, C, E, A. It's a 1 chord, perfect authentic cadence because we have the A in the upper voice. And all that happens in the next chord is the bass leaps up an octave. G sharp, B, E, E. It's another E major triad in first inversion. A, E, C. That's a 1 chord. The A doubled passing tone. F, A, F, D. Well, that's our first 4 chord, actually, I think. I don't think we've seen a 4 chord up until this point, but it's in first inversion. The D is actually the root of the chord with a passing tone right there. And then we have D, B flat, G, E. That's an E fully diminished 7th, and that would be 7 of 6. But because we're not going to a 6 chord afterwards, I really think that that's just an accented tone, and it just coincidentally creates another diminished 7th. So if we take C sharp, E, G, and B flat, that's 7 of 4. That's 7 fully diminished 7th of 4. And I think on the next beat we get a 4 chord, D, A, F sharp, D. But with melodic minor, we get not a minor 4, but a major 4. Then we get some type of counterpoint here, passing tones in the inner voices, D sharp, G sharp. So what am I doing? D sharp, F sharp, A, C. That is 7 fully diminished, root position of 5. And wow, the chorale ends on a 5 chord. It ends on a half cadence. So I would suspect that this piece, or this chorale, was part of a larger work, and the chorale would quickly go into another movement where the tonic is just emphasized on the downbeat, because ending on a half cadence like that leaves this sense of unfinished, this unfinished nature to it, because it's not a grammatic, it doesn't have the grammatic effect of it being a complete thought. That being said, though, quicker chorale today, definitely shorter, less to analyze, but how interesting harmonically with the sharp and the key signature. I can't help but feel that that was an editorial mistake. Maybe it's just the edition I have. I'm going to have to go back and confer with my personal edition, but we shall see. That being said, everyone, if you have any comments about my analysis for today's chorale, please feel free to leave so in the comment section, and I look forward to tomorrow's chorale. Happy New Year, everyone. Thanks for watching.